Hi guys, Samantha from Samantha Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create this necklace. Let me just bring it over. And I know that a bunch of you have been waiting a while for this necklace, so I'm quite happy that I'm going to be doing it today. This necklace was done with Kato, but I'm going to be doing it with Primo today, so that that will be more helpful to a bunch of you, since Primo seems to be the clay that is used more. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create the skinner blends that we need, and we need to create a skinner blend with white, and this is Primo, and purple Primo. So what you'll do is you'll cut out a triangle from each, and this is the largest triangle from my skinner blend cutter set. And just pop that white back into your packet, and then you'll use your purple, and how much clay you use is completely up to you. In general, I use maybe about, let's see, maybe about a quarter of a block, and this is the small block of Primo per cane, per colour. So on the whole, this will make half a block of Primo. Okay, and I'm just putting it together that way. There we go. Oops. And I'm just going to fold that over, and I'm going to fold that over. Okay, and that's our one skinner blend. So I'll just fold that over so that it sticks together while I put it in the pasta machine, and I'm going to go and turn that into a blend. And here is the nice smooth blend that it has given us. So we'll put that to the side for the moment, and we need to just make one more skinner blend, and this time we are going to be using Cobalt Primo, and again a quarter of a small block of Primo per colour. But you can use more. The more clay you use in a cane, the easier the cane is. So that's the minimum that I would recommend using, a quarter of a block, a small block per colour. But if I were you, I would go to make it as easy as possible, I would go at least half a block of Primo per colour. But this is the minimum. Okay, so again, triangle of white and a triangle of blue. There, just getting rid of that. And again, I'll put them next to each other. And then just squish that up. Squish that up, and then I'll use my blade to help me fold it in half, and this will give us a really nice smooth blend. And again, I'll turn that into a skinner blend. Okay, and here is that nice cobalt blend. So now what we want to do is we want to fold these in half, and in half again. So it's quite thin. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going to be making a skinner blend plug. So I folded them in half, and now I want to run that through the pasta machine from that end to that end, so that I get this. Okay, then I'm going to take it down to my third thinnest setting, and I'm going to run it through again, lengthening it. Okay. And so now you should have a nice long blend. And I'm going to start from one side, and that will be the white end. and I'm going to just start folding like this until I have a Skinner Blend plug. And you will do the same with the purple blend. Actually, no, you won't do the same with the purple blend. We're going to be doing something different. Never mind, we're just going to be doing a Skinner Blend plug for this one. So I'll continue with that. Okay, and so here's what your Skinner Blend should look like. So this is roughly around half a block of a small block of Primer. Now what I want to do is I want to bring over some of my white again, and I'm going to take the top of my Skinner Blend plug and I'm just going to add a layer of white because I'm not quite happy with the amount of white that I had in that Skinner Blend. So if you're ever having trouble and you don't think you have enough white, you can always do that. There we go. Just add a block on top of there. Okay. Then we're gonna reduce this down. And just try to keep it in a rectangle shape, and then as you go down keep it in a square shape. You don't want some of these edges buckling out or anything like that. You want to keep it nice and even. So this blue down here is a little bit harder than the white, so I have to push in the white every now and then so that the blue can catch up as I'm reducing. And I'm just going to reduce this Skinner Blend down so I can cut out some pieces for our rose. And now you can use any colours you want. The only colours that you do need to keep are the black, the white and the translucent that we're going to be using. But the blue and the purple, you can use any colours you wish. So if you wanted a red rose instead of a blue one, then by all means go ahead and do that, definitely. But I'll keep reducing this Skinner Blend plug until I can cut out the adequate number of parts. Okay, so here we are, I've reduced it, and we need to cut out 13 pieces from this. So I'll just start by cutting them out. And I usually like to have some extra pieces as well, just because if you make a mistake you don't want to have to go and, you know, make a whole nother Skinner Blend. You want to be able to just use an extra one. So I'll continue cutting these out until we have enough. Okay, so we've got 13 pieces and I've got a little bit extra just in case. Okay, so now what you want to do is just pop these aside. There we go. And we're going to make the center of the rose. So we want to flatten this out. Okay. And then once we've flattened it out enough, I'm going to just pinch one end so that it's tapered compared to the rest. Okay. And I'm just going to chop down the middle there. And I'm just stretching it out a little bit so that it will be long enough for me to use. There we go. And now what we want to do is you want to roll with the white on the outside. And start from the thin end and work your way in. So you always want the white to be the outside of your petal. There we go. And let's cut that so you can see what it looks like. There we go. And that's going to be the center of our rose. And I need to remember where that is, because that's going to be important later. Then what we want to do is we want to flatten this out just a little bit again. And then we want to bring the white around. So just pinch it like that so that it's going to bring the white around. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. There we are. You want it to look like that. So it's like a, well, it's not really a semicircle, maybe a semi-oval, and the white is touching on either side. Okay, and then you want to make 4 like that. Okay, so I've made 4 of these, and now you want to be doing it so the white is facing outward again. And start by, you see there's a seam right here. You want to be tucking 1 fold into that seam. Okay, then go halfway, and then tuck the next one under it. Then curl that halfway around, tuck the next one under it. And there we go. So it's a little bit tricky to do, it's a little bit awkward, but it's not difficult, it's just a little bit tricky to show. But hopefully there you can see what I'm doing. And you do want all of the petals going in the same direction. Okay, and so now that you've done that, pop that aside, and you want to create another 4 of these. Okay. So I've made another 4 of these, and again you want the white facing outward, and you see these seams, you want to be placing this about halfway over it. And you'll just go around and cover up those seams. And you might need to stretch them just a little bit to get them to cover. Stretch this one out a little bit more, and just make sure it's high enough as well. And this one over here needs to be stretched just a tad, just so they all meet up. So it might take just a little bit of tinkering around with, but they should all fit in quite happily. There we go. Then just squish those on. Okay, and then you could reduce it like that, but I like to do 1 more round of petals like these. So again, take your last 4, flatten them out just like that, and then we'll put them on the cane. Okay. So you'll go and you'll pop these over the seams again, just like that. And then try and get them to touch. It's not a big problem if they don't, but it's also nice if you can get them to do that. That should be fine. And that's basically your rose cane. Very easy, very simple. You could add more petals, but personally I think it ends up looking a little too full for my liking. Here's an example of a rose that I've done already. It's a red one. I will be doing a YouTube tutorial on it later. but this is basically what this one's going to look like once reduced. So all you do now is just start pinching the sides gently. You can also push it against the tile to get everything flattened out. And the cane doesn't need any packing, it's basically in a round shape already, which is what I really like about rose canes. You don't have to worry about putting translucent around them or anything like that. And then just go and pinch and reduce like you would any normal round cane, and reduce it down to the size that you like. I like it maybe around 1/2 centimetre. That's generally my preferred size for this project. 1/2 centimetre to 3/4 centimetre in diameter. And let me just zoom out for you quickly so that it's not so close up. There you go. And we'll just reduce this. And so you can see I've used a fairly small amount of clay. It does make the project a little bit harder, so if you're just starting canes or you're not that confident with them, definitely use more clay. This is going to come to about 1/2 block of a small block of Prima. There you go, and you can see I'm grabbing the sides and gently pulling as well. There we are. Now let's see what it looks like. Now it's still a little warm, so let me just cut that again, see if I can get it not to smear or anything like that. There you go. You can see we have a beautiful light blue rose. It's not as dramatic as the one that I made in the previous project, simply because we have used different colours, and the skinner blend that I've made also is a bit more refined. So if you have a look at the rose in this bead, it's quite a bit of a darker blue and there's not as much white in it. So personally I prefer a lighter, more soft rose, but if you're looking for a more dramatic one, just simply use more of the blue. Okay, so that is the rose cane finished, so let's move on to the purple daisy. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our daisy. So what you'll do is you'll fold this in half, just like you did for the rose. Fold in half again, and then you're going to run that through the pasta machine so that you get a nice long strip again. So that you get a nice long strip like this. So we're going to start, and we're going to be making a skinner blend bullseye cane. So you're going to start with the white end. I always like to start with the white end. And you're just going to start rolling. And you want to keep it nice and tight so that you prevent air bubbles. And if the ends over here start to bow out a little bit, just squish it back in again. You'll just carry on rolling until you've used up your entire blend. There we go. And you should end up with a nice skinner blend bullseye cane. Okay, and now I'm just busy pressing it all together. And then you want to reduce that down so you can cut out quite a few pieces. And again, you want to reduce it a little bit. So I want to maybe cut out around 10 to 12 petals, but I would like to reduce it down so that I can cut out around 16 so that I have some extra petals again, because it's always good to have extras, because if you make a mistake you want to have an extra that you can just quickly use instead of having to go and redo a skinner blend and then create a bullseye cane with it. So that's something I recommend with any cane that you do. If you're cutting out segments and things and there's a possibility that you might make an accident, just make sure that you have some extras along with you. And then things like Skinner Blend plugs and Skinner Blend bullseye canes, you can use it for a lot of different projects besides whatever you are using it for right now. So it's a nice little cane to have in your stash anyway. So you can see this is reducing down quite nicely. I want to reduce it down quite a bit. And then we can cut out our flower segments. Okay. Then I'll just trim up these ends and you can see that we have a nice Skinner Blend there. And I'll just roll out these ends a little bit because I want it all to be around the same diameter. And I'd say that this is probably about half a centimetre in diameter, roughly. Okay, now I'm just going to cut out our flower petals. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch and I've turned a whole bunch of them already into the shape that I want. So what you'll do is you'll take one end and you'll just pinch it, then press it against your tile so you get a nice shape, and then just squish down these edges so that it's not bent anymore, and then just squish it a little bit more because you don't want such a rounded drop. I want it to be quite thin like that. Okay, and then I've got a whole bunch here that I've done. And what you'll do is you'll just simply start putting them together. Like so. Until you have enough for your flower. So that's half one. Then I'm going to do the other half. Okay, then you'll take another bullseye and you'll pinch. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the middle for this flower. So I want a nice long piece. And I want it to be tapered. Just like that. And then I'm gently going to roll that, like so. Okay. And then I'm just going to squish it back down so that it's the same size as it was before. It might be a little big. If it is, just roll it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I'm not pushing too hard, I'm just getting all the petals into the right shape. And now what I want to do is I want to have sections where the petals aren't all sitting together nicely. This is still a little bit large for my liking. There we go. I want to make it sit nicely together. There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to grab some translucent. And I'm using Primo White Translucent because I like that it gives a blue tint rather than a yellow tint, where the white Primo Translucent gives a blue tint, whereas the normal Primo Translucent gives a yellow tint. So for this project, the blue tint works better. Okay, and I'm just going to roll that into a log. Okay, and I want that quite thin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off sections and I'm going to pinch them like so, and I want them to fit in there. And some of them I want to just open the petals up a little bit so that it will fit in nicely. There we go. And then for some of the other ones, I won't open up the petals. So I'm going for some of the petals to be close together and some of them to have a little bit of an opening. So depending on what you want, you can vary it. So that triangle was quite short. This one's a little bit longer, so that I'm going to open up the petals and I'm going to insert that. Just like that. Okay, and I'm going to continue doing that for each petal. Okay, and here's what it looks like so far. So what we're going to do now is, before we put a piece of translucent around it, I want to just gently squeeze it together so that all of these translucent pieces fit together and they all touch. There we go. Then I've got a piece of translucent that I ran out on my third thinnest setting, and so it's around 1 millimeter thick. Okay. And then I'll just wrap that around the cane and trim away any excess. Okay, and there's just little bits of translucent that are sticking out over here that I'm just going to chop off. Okay, now we want to just gently start reducing that. And that will be our daisy cane. And then after that we can move on to creating our 2 translucent canes. We're going to have a translucent rose and a translucent daisy. But first I want to reduce this to basically the same size as the rose. And then I'll show you what it looks like. I always look forward to when I finish reducing the canes, because I love seeing how it turned out. Because you can't see it until you've actually finished reducing. Okay. Perfect. So you can see some of those petals, they have a larger segment of translucent in them, so that they're not all perfect, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so those are our 2 flower canes, and you can see they're nice and soft compared to the ones over here. Now if you do want to make the Kato one, use Primo Translucent and then use Kato White, Kato Black, Kato purple and Kato blue, and just replace the blue with the cobalt in the rose and the purple with the purple in the daisy. Okay, so I'm going to pop those to the side, and we can now move on to, let's do the rose next. So you're going to want a piece of translucent, and I'm just going to fold this in half and then in half again. And then just trim that with my blade. Okay, just so that I've got a nice block of translucent. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll that into a log, and then we will wrap it with white. First I need to get into a round shape. So let's see how thick, or what is the diameter of this, so that I can give you some measurements. I'd say it is about a centimeter across, centimeter in diameter. That's what I'm trying to get to. Okay, and then I'm going to roll out a piece of white on my third setting, and so that should end up being about 1 millimeter thick. Okay. Trying to decide. There we go. I'll roll it that way. Okay, then just wrap your white around and cut away any extra bits. Okay, and then roll, and you want to be able to cut out 13 pieces at least for your rose. Again, I like to create some extra, so I'll be reducing it down till I can cut out at least 16 pieces, and then we can make our rose. Okay, so I've reduced it and cut out the number of pieces that I need. And so now what we want to do is basically create one with a tapered end. It's basically the exact same as the rose I showed a little while ago, just using translucent and white instead. So it's a little different, but it's basically the same technique, so it's no harder. It's actually easier in some ways because you don't have to do the skinner blend. So if you're having any trouble doing skinner blends or anything of that sort, the translucent rose is pretty easy. Okay, there we go. Then we will take this and we'll just flatten it into a triangle. A very, very flat triangle. And then starting from one end, you'll just curl it round like we did with the other rose. And then you need to make about 12 of these flat triangles. So we've done 2 so far, we're going to need 10 more. But I'll just finish this part first to show you. Okay. And you'll just pop that one in as well. And then lastly, that one. Okay. Then I'll make the other 8 and I'll show you what to do with them. Okay. So next, we'll just pop this over the seams. Just like that. And we'll do the same here. There we go. All done. Easy. Okay. Now just gently start to reduce it. And this is our translucent rose. And then once we're done with this one, we can go and make our daisy, which will almost be the same as the one that we made before. There you go. And here's what the rose looks like. Let me just trim this one second. There. That's what the rose looks like. So basically the same as the blue one. So pop that to the side, and now we're going to make our daisy. And what you'll need for that is the other piece of translucent that we had, which I will just trim. And then you want to roll that into a log. And we want to wrap that in black, rolled out on my third thinnest setting. And this will be the last cane. Once we're done with this, we can start assembling our veneer, and then we can make our beads. Okay. Chop off any excess. And then I just want to roll that, but don't roll it too much. You don't want to reduce it just yet. You actually want to try and shorten it again, just like that. And using your blade, cut down the middle and on either side. But just make sure that the middle one is the tallest. And I'm just going to make sure that I got that right. You just want to check on both sides like that one. I haven't gone in far enough. And then just gently separate them out. And then grab your black. Just cut that into segments. And fit those segments into your cuts. There we go. And then trim away any extra little bits and pieces. Okay. Then you want to reduce it down so that we can cut about 8 pieces out of it. Okay, so I've reduced these down. So I've got 8 pieces. Now what you want to do is you want to pinch the side that has these lines. So that you get a petal shape. Don't pinch it too much because you don't want a very flat petal this time. You want it to be a nice rounded petal like that. And then you'll do that with the others too. Okay, and here are all the pieces, and you can see that I've just put them together into 2 pieces so that they form a flower. So now what we want to do is we want to take another bullseye cane that has black around translucent. You just want to reduce that down quite a bit. And we're just going to make a quick lace cane for the center. There we go. Then just squish that together and reduce. And then you'll have a nice little lace cane to go in the center. Just reduce it down to the size that will fit. It's just a little bit too big. There we go. Okay, and I'll just chop off the excess so that I can see what's going on, because you want all of these little bits touching your center. There we go. Okay, now you'll take a log of translucent and reduce that down. And then just pinch it along the length to create a triangle so we can fit it between the petals. And just smooth along the length too. Okay. and then just pop each triangle into the right spots. Until you've got one inside each gap between the petals. Just like that. And then just gently squish them in. Then bring over a sheet of translucent, and this is the same one that we used for the daisy. Okay, and we'll just wrap that around, trim away the excess, and reduce. And this is our last cane. And so after this, we can start assembling, which will be nice. And each of these canes can be used on their own, as well as being used together. So try different projects. Don't just use these canes together. Try them individually with different projects. If you're looking for ideas, you can have a look at my YouTube channel. There's lots of different projects on there. There we go. And there's our flower. Very happy with how that turned out. So now we have all 4 of our canes. You can see them there. So now we can get on to assembling our veneer. Okay, so next we want a sheet of pearl white, primo, and a sheet of white, primo. And these were both rolled out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And now I'm just going to stack them on top of each other, like so. And let's see, before I decide whether or not, let me just see how thick it is, because you want to make sure you have enough space for beads and things. I think it's a little thick, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pearl base and I'm going to take it down a setting or 2 to my 5th setting. And that should be better. Okay, and I'm just smoothing out air bubbles. And let's see how thick that is. That's good, I'm happy with that. So I'd say that is about 1/2 centimetre thick. Makes drilling holes much easier later on. So just trim up along the edge. Okay. And now the pearl is going to be the back of our bead. So we'll turn this around and we're going to start stacking our cane slices onto our front. So I'm going to pop that to the side, out of the way, and I'll bring over, let's see, I'm going to start with our daisy and our rose coloured canes, and we're going to cut a few of those. And I've got a very nice thin blade here, and you want to cut thin slices. Like so. And the sharper your blade, the easier this will be. There we go. That should be enough for now. Then go and separate them. You don't want them to be sticking together. And you'll do the same with your daisy. And because the blade was quite sharp, these didn't get distorted or anything while I was busy slicing them. There we go. Now I'll do the same with the daisy. Okay, now bring this over again. Let me just position it in the middle there so you guys can see what I am doing. And then I'm going to start with the roses. And you can overlap them if you want. And then I'll bring over the daisies. And then again the roses. And so on across my veneer. And I'll carry on until I've basically filled up the veneer. And try to overlap it a little bit, but don't do it too much because it can look a little bit weird later. Okay, then you'll take your translucent canes and you'll do the exact same. But I like to put the daisy under the rose and the translucent rose under the daisy. And try and make your slices as thin as you can. And then you'll continue down until you reach the end of your veneer. So you'll do a translucent streak across, then you'll do another one like this across, and so on down. Hopefully that made sense. And then when we're done with that, I'll show you how to flatten it nicely, and we can start creating our beads. Okay, so here it is now that I am finished with it. So all we need to do now is flatten it. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper, plain printing paper, and I'm going to put it under here so we get a nice texture, nice clean texture on the back. And I'm also going to use a piece of paper over the front. And then I'm going to just use my roller, gently start rolling, just to do the most of the flattening. And then once that's done, you can take your roller and actually start burnishing. And you want to do this until it is completely flat. So if you're doing this project, I recommend using the canes while they're nice and fresh. So within the first week of making them, I would recommend using them. Because once they start to set up, when you're doing this, they can actually start to crack. So definitely use them while they're fresh. And then burnish them down until you can't see any lines or creases or gaps or anything. And again, it's easier when you're using fresh canes. So it's just better to use them within the first week of making them. Okay, now feel that with my hands. It feels almost okay. I've got a few areas, but I want to see what it looks like. Okay. So I've got a few bumps left, but it's definitely flattening out. You want to make sure that it is completely flat. So hopefully if I twist that, you can see it. There are still a few areas that are raised. There we go, you can catch it on the light. It must be completely flat. So I'll continue burnishing, and then when that's done, I will show you how to cut out your beads. Okay, now that I have finished smoothing that out, I'm going to be using my wrapped collar cutters to cut it out. So here are the collar cutters. So you're going to start from your largest cutter and work your way down. And you can use any cutters that you want, but if you do want these ones, I have them on my Etsy shop, Jessima Design. Okay, and now because we smoothed this onto the paper, hopefully it should be well stuck enough onto the paper that it's not going to stick in the cutters, because if we were working on a tile it wouldn't stick in the cutter, but I want to work on the paper so I get a nice backing. So let's hope it's stuck well to the paper. That's why I wanted to burnish it. So I'll cut down, press down nice and hard, and lift. Oh well. Wasn't stuck well enough to the paper to prevent it from sitting in the cutter. If you don't want it to sit in the cutter, then you can always just pop it onto the tile, but it means that your back might get a little bit of the wrong texture. But anyway, all you'll do now is you'll gently work that out of your cutter, and it should come out pretty easily. Here we go. And there's your bead. And we'll clean up the back later. Okay, so that was our tallest one. Now bring over the next one, and you want to have it as close to the other one as possible so that you're not wasting clay. Cut and lift, and then smooth the back here so it's nice and tidy. There we go. And then gently work it out of your cutter. And if it's giving you trouble coming out of the cutter, one thing that you can use is a little makeup brush to gently press it out. Okay, so here's what you would do if you didn't want it sticking in the cutter. You'd put it on your ceramic tile or a glass surface and smooth. And make sure you smooth it pretty thoroughly so that it is stuck onto your tile. And then cut out your bead and lift. And you'll see that it comes out much easier from the cutter because the tile pulled it. And these cutters are particularly tricky just because they are so thin. So you need to just be careful with those ones. But all the other plastic cutters should be just fine. Okay, press and lift. And there we go, that one didn't stick. And you'll notice also, because these ones are so thin, they're going to slightly dome the top of your beads. And I quite like that about these cutters. Now I'll move on to the next size. And cut. And lift. And if you lift up quickly, sometimes that also helps prevent it from sticking in the cutter. But anyway, just carry it on until you have cut out all of your beads. Okay, and here they are now that I have cut them all out. There you go. And now you'll want to go and smooth the tops of each one, just to make sure you don't have any fingerprints. And another thing you want to do is just take a blade and trim the sides. Now this makes life quite a bit easier later on when you sand, and it takes a lot less time to do this than sand it later. So just go and trim the sides so that they're nice and clean, and you can see the back's nice and shiny as well. And you'll do that for each of these beads. Okay, and here they are now that I've trimmed them up. Now I've put on some gloves, or finger cots I guess, and I'm just going to go and I've smoothed the top of each of these pieces. And now they are ready to go in the oven. So you'll keep them on a piece of plain printing paper, and you'll also put another piece over the top of them to prevent any scorching or anything of that sort, and you'll put them in the oven at Primo's recommended temperature for a full hour. Okay, and so here they are out of the oven, and now we want to give them a pretty good sand. So just start with one, and use polishing papers or wet dry sandpaper for this. And just start on your lowest grit, which is a 400 for me, and just sand the front, the back and the sides. And then once you're done with your 400, you'll go up to your next grit and so on until you reach your highest, which is about an 8000 in my case. And the higher the grit, the better, because we're going to be finishing this off with just a buff from the Dremel. You can apply varnish like Varathane if you want to, but I think just a quick sand and buff will look the best. So I'm just going to be sanding the sides, front and the back through all of my grits. Then we'll give it a drill, then we'll give it a buff, and then we can start assembling our necklace. Okay, so I've sanded them all up, and I've also drilled most of them. So I'll just show you how to quickly drill the next one, and then we will buff them. Okay, so here we go. So just position your drill in there, and this is a push drill, and just start going down. And you should break through on the other side. And there we go. That's all you have to do. And because it's a rectangle, it's very easy to drill. Okay, so now we'll start buffing each one. So I've got a Dremel here with a buffing wheel, which I've made myself, and you can get these off of my Etsy shop. This one's a little bit scruffy because I buffed with it for quite a while, and also it has Renaissance wax on it, so I don't have to apply the wax now. So I'm going to switch this on, and it's going to make a little bit of noise, so you might want to turn your sound down. Okay, and there we go. So hopefully the camera is going to pick up on how shiny that is. There we go. And I just want to put another one next to it, which has been sanded but hasn't been buffed, so you can see the difference as I twist it around. Okay, so you can see this one over here has a nice sheen to it because it's been sanded, but it's nowhere near the beautiful buff that one has. So I'm going to continue buffing each of these, and then when I am done they should all look really nice and shiny, and then we can assemble our necklace. Okay, so now that these are all nice and buffed, we can start assembling our necklace. So I've got some nice thin Acuflex here, and it is, let's see, it is Midnight Black, 49 strands, softest drape, and what's that say, 0.48 millimeters in diameter. So that's the sort of information you need if you want to go and buy that off of Fire Mountain Gems. Okay, so I've got 3 strands here, a Charlotte crimp, let's see if those 3 strands will fit in there. Might have to work it a little bit. There we go. Just give me a moment to get this right. Okay, change of plan. The Charlotte crimp was giving me trouble, so I'm going to swap over to these bulldog crimps. All you do is you take your Acuflex, each piece, and make sure that you get them together. Grab one of your crimp beads, and get all the strands through there. There we go. Squeeze that tight. Then take your bulldog crimp and just get it in the right position first. It's a little fiddly, I must say. Grab your bulldog crimp in your pliers and squish it tight around your crimp. There we go, and give it a little tug to make sure that it's stuck, and there you go. Then take a jump ring, pop it through your open loop, and take the 1/2 of your clasp and pop it on, and there you go. That's the 1/2 of the necklace. Next, just trim this side to the right size. Then I'm going to take a bead, and this is a black onyx bead, then one of the polymer clay ones, then another bead, and I'll continue stringing until I've used up all of my polymer clay beads. Okay, then when you're done stringing, you'll gather up your cores and a crimp bead, pop those together, squeeze, position the crimp in your pliers, and close. Then you'll grab a jump ring and the other 1/2 of your clasp, and loop that through the loop. Having a little bit of trouble with the jump ring. There you go. There you go. Sometimes it gives a little bit of trouble. And close up your jump ring. And there we go. That was pretty easy. And here is what the necklace looks like. Let me just zoom you out quickly. There we go. Now you can see what it looks like. And I'm quite happy with how it looks. And then you can see the cord up here is quite nice. I like that it's separated into 3 instead of it just being the usual one thick cord. So that was basically it for this tutorial, and so I do hope that it was helpful to you and that you learned a bunch of different things, especially with the canes. And so hopefully you can take those techniques and apply them to other canes and maybe use these canes in a different project. That would also be interesting to see. And And if you like the tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.